Good morning, grade 10s. Hopefully everyone had a fantastic weekend. Oh, I love how I have you guys trained. You're already giving me green check marks. That's awesome. So perfect. Good morning. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. I'm enjoying this sunshine here in Kelowna. Jonah, what's the weather like over there? Is it nice? Still rainy? Are you back in Canada? I don't even know. Oh, how hot is it over there, Jonah? We hit up to around 30 this weekend, so it's kind of nice after all this crazy flooding and rain. And I mean, I guess the flooding's still happening. Good morning, Leeds. Nice to see ya. Oh, I bet. I hate that humidity. Oh, you're just like sweaty all the time. Awesome. Good, you guys. Jenna, if you're there, give me a green check mark. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, before we get started with our unit that we're continuing on talking about the elections, talking about the voting process, talking about government, I do have a couple of announcements that I want to make sure that you guys have down for this upcoming month, because we are super close to the end of the year, you guys, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting the correct information and stuff. So of course, I think I told you last time, you guys, that you know, I was gonna get Mr. Borden to tell you, right, about all the dates and stuff, and then I forgot to tell him. So if we just hold it up right here, right, you guys, our week, here, I'll just go back because now it's sliding and it's going super fast. Our week looks pretty normal this week, right, with social studies being Monday, Wednesday, science being Tuesday, Thursday, okay? So Mr. Borden has all the dates, okay, sliding up on that home page. Okay, you guys. So here's our week. This week looks pretty good. We've got a hike this Friday, so feel free to come on out, the Bear Creek one. I'm gonna head back though, because this is the big one that you guys want. We really need to look at. The Science 10 final exam, June 21st from 9 to 11:30 at McWilliams. That's huge. And I already told you guys, remember that there's no social studies exam. Okay, so you can solely focus on science. So June 21st is your science exam, okay, here at McWilliams. Please jot that down. Make sure you know, okay, when that is. Now, I believe, so your last day of classes, you guys, officially, I'm just gonna go back, okay, is going to be, no, that's not the right date. Here we go. Here we go. June 16th is our mark cutoff. June 16th is mark cutoff. That's when you have to have all assignments handed in, okay? Then on that week of the exam, okay, on the Wednesday here, potentially, if necessary, you'll notice Mr. Borden put review if necessary. If you guys need review time, he will be holding class on the 19th and 20th, if necessary. He's leaving it up to hit at discretion as he gets closer to that time, okay, you guys? But the 16th, so that Friday before, is our mark cutoff for all classes. That includes PE, that includes foods, it includes social studies. So please make sure that you guys are getting those assignments in. So make sure you're checking your grades. Make sure you're seeing if, if I've missed something, please message me. All those things. Super important to start doing that now, you guys, in case you don't get far behind. All right. So I think that's it for important dates and where we're at with that. So I think we can jump right into the lesson today, you guys. So I've got a quick little think, pair, share to start just getting our brain back into school after a nice weekend. And then I have a quick video and an article for you guys to read to acquire some knowledge around the election process here in BC and what just recently occurred in the election here in BC. And then you're going to be doing some presenting, putting together a presentation again, and then we'll go over the assessment and the reflection as well. All right. So here we go. Today's learning targets is that you can understand how to research the parties and candidates running for election. So now what we're going to be doing is we're really going to be delving into the actual election that just occurred here in BC, okay? So we're going to be taking a look at those parties that were represented and the candidates that represented those parties, okay? You can analyze party platforms and positions. So when I say party platforms, what do they stand for? What are they presenting to the public, to the constituents that they believe is important? That's what a platform is, okay? And positions on specific issues that you can compare the candidates running for office and that you can recognize the relationships between citizens and the government, okay? That's really what we're focusing on today's lesson. So, I know this map isn't great on the live classroom, you guys, but I did put a link in the assignment for you guys to take a look of a more up close a look at the map, because what this map shows is the different electoral districts in British Columbia. Now, what an electoral district is, you guys, is basically the geographic regions around the province that are represented by specific candidates that are running for the provincial election, for the MLA. Okay, so in BC, we have actually 87 electoral districts. So you can see when you're looking down south, like on the island, down in Vancouver, even here in Kelowna, in the Okanagan, there's going to be insets, and that's what those squares are, because the ridings are so small, and then they've blown up that area so that you can actually see where the boundaries are within that. Okay, these are also known, the electoral districts are also known as ridings. So when you hear your parents or on the news talking about your riding that you live in, they mean your electoral district, okay? And they're defined by geographic areas, okay? And each district is represented by one member of the Legislative Assembly, your MLA, okay? And they represent you down in Victoria, okay, in Parliament, okay? So we are single member districts. That's why we only vote for one person to represent us in all of our district or in all of our riding, okay? The size of a riding is determined by a multitude of different factors, okay? It's just decided by population size, hence why down south where we've got more urban areas, the actual electoral district is smaller, right? Versus say up north where you see those great big ridings. That's because the population is more spread out and it's less condensed, okay? So it's population size, demographic makeup, so what types of people are within that region, how old are they, what's their economic status, all those things. And obviously physical geography makes up those districts as well, okay? So there you go, and I've given you exactly what I've just said, right? Urban electoral districts are often smaller and more populous, more population, while rural electoral districts are larger with less dense populations, okay? Because they're more spread out. So here is what I want you to do. Okay, we're just gonna do a quick little think, pair, share. So for 2 minutes, I just want you to think by yourself. You are not posting into the room, you're not chatting with a partner yet. This is solely just to get your brain working. I want you to think about the following questions, all right? Do you notice any differences between your electoral district and others across British Columbia? So I want you to have that map up in front of you. Where do you live? Okay, Jonah, this might be a little different for you, but if you have a property here, kind of look for that. So you might have to probably look at the inset for the Okanagan district, okay? Because some of us, right, are going to be Kelowna Mission, some of us might be the West Kelowna riding, right, so on and so forth. So where do you live? Find which riding you would be in. And are there differences across British Columbia? Why are there differences, and what would those differences might be? I've already named a few. Okay, so just to help you out. So let's take 2 minutes just to think on your own first. Okay, go ahead and get started. Good. Okay, that gave you some time to think. Now what I want to do is I actually want to partner up so you guys can discuss this. Again, I'm just going to give you guys 2 minutes to partner up and discuss the exact same prompt. All right? So you're going to talk about the differences between the electoral district, why it happens, like why there are differences. Okay? So I'm just going to quickly partner you guys up. So let's just go Connor and Eric, Jenna and Jesse, Jonah and Josh, B, Costin and Kyla, Leeds and Madison. Okay, it works out perfect today. Yay. All right, another 2 minutes, you guys, and discuss with your partners. Go ahead. Good. Just finish up what you're chatting with your partner, okay? I don't want to cut anybody off on their thoughts, okay? Now, but as you are chatting with your partner, okay, I want you to now in the room chat, okay, just type one difference that you guys discussed, okay? What was one difference between the electoral districts that you guys took a look at? And why do those differences exist? So that's the important part to mention is why. So awesome. Kyla, you mentioned population. Absolutely. So why would population be so important when we're making the boundaries of an electoral district? Why do you think that Elections BC takes into consideration population? Good. So the actual size, right? The actual amount of people that are in that electoral district. Good. Maybe they even take into consideration past voting, what's the word I'm looking for? Trends. Okay. Yeah, Jonah, that would be super interesting to look at, right? Because Jonah, tell us a little bit about Haiti. Is it a democracy? Is it considered a democracy? So what would you consider it, Jonah? Is it communist? Is there one party that really, yeah. Okay, so you would consider it a dictatorship, right? So there are other parties though, right, Jonah? But it's very, very set, right? It's, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, there's a multitude of countries that way. Absolutely. So it makes us very, very thankful that we live in Canada, right? Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So Jesse, you're mentioning the actual physical geographic area, right? Absolutely. So the density of a population also is important when you're setting, when Elections BC is setting the electoral boundaries. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what Kyla mean too around like the voting, right? Those trends, you know, are they mostly conservative? Are they mostly liberal? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Awesome. Good, you guys. Okay. So that you were picking up on what I was saying earlier, right? That it's super important to, that's how those boundaries are set. Now, with the same partner, I want you to discuss the following issues, and I think I'll give you about 5 minutes to discuss this one. I'll give you a little bit more time because then you can go a little bit more in depth and really keep asking questions of your partner, right? Why do you say that? Why do you believe that? What makes you think that, okay? So really work on those conversational skills with your partner, okay? Here's what I want you guys to discuss. Here's for the prompts. What issues do you expect people in your electoral district to be talking about? Even think back just to this last election that happened a couple of months ago, okay? What were people talking about? What were your parents talking about? Maybe what your grandparents were talking about, that sort of thing. If you were voting age, what would you have been talking about? What do you find important? And what promises or commitments do you expect local candidates to make? What do you usually hear, like on TV, from the media? What are they usually talking about? Okay, so I want to give you guys 5 minutes just to discuss those prompts. Okay, go ahead. Same partners, you guys. Go ahead. All right. So now what we're going to do, you guys, it's funny, as I was watching your guys' chat, I had to remind you guys, there's a big difference between federal elections, right, which happen on all of Canada, and that was Trudeau versus Harper, right? Versus BC election, our provincial election. That was the one that was occurring with Christy Clark, Andrew Weaver for the Greens, right? That sort of thing. So we're focusing on that recent election that just happened in May here in BC. Okay, that's where I wanted to focus on. All right. So there were some of you that actually came up with some really good issues and or promises that you guys discussed. So just in the room chat, again, just share what was an issue or a promise that you would expect that local candidates would be addressing or that the population wanted to talk about, okay? I don't want to throw Josh under the bus, but Josh, you had some really good ones. If you could just post what you wrote, that would be great. At least it would get people thinking. Good. Excellent. So those are those promises, right? Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Absolutely. Do you think that that happens, Josh? I know that's what we kind of expect from our local candidate, that they are not showing bias and that they're trying to represent the majority of their constituency or the majority of their riding, right? Because that's who they are supposed to be representing down in Victoria. But do you think that that actually sometimes happens? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the local candidates try to, right? But what if that promise or the majority of their riding doesn't agree with the party, what the party is trying to move forward in legislature? Okay, that's where the sticky situations come in, right? Because then how do they vote? You know, they're really pushed to vote with party policy, with party lines. But what if their constituents don't believe that, okay? That's the fine balance act of being a politician, right? It's super important. So what are some of the issues then that are being that are out there that was during the election? Even think back, you guys, to the lesson around when we looked at the different ministries in BC. Those ministries are a lot of the issues, right, that are dealt with during election time, right? So I'll get you started, right? Education is usually part of a political platform, right? Because that's super important to our province. Healthcare is usually another issue, right, in this province, especially with our aging population. We see that a lot in the news, okay? So what else? We talk about education, we can talk about healthcare. What else are things that you guys are super invested in, right? Those big ideas, those big concepts that you, once you guys get to vote, that you are going to want to hear from your local candidates that are important. Can you guys think of anything? Do you think you'll all have jobs? Leads. You can't live forever with your parents. Leads. Caitlin, we're talking about the provincial election. What are some of the important issues that were being addressed during this last provincial election in May, right? If you're all going to hold down jobs, don't you think that's an important election platform, right? Jobs, the economy, that was huge. Okay, that's probably the number one thing that our candidates were talking about, right? Oil, that was huge. All right, so these are things that you guys need to start thinking about. All right, let me head back to my PowerPoint here. All right, so what I want you guys to do, there's kind of two aspects now to this acquiring the knowledge, okay? So I need you guys to head back to the lesson, and I want you to watch that video, okay? The electoral system. It's gonna give you some terminology. It's gonna review kind of what we just discussed, that sort of thing. And it's gonna set you up for what we're gonna head to next for doing a little bit of background knowledge, okay? So the video is about 2.5 minutes, so we'll put 3 minutes up on the timer, you guys. And then once you're done watching the video, please just come back into Blackboard and give me a green check mark. Okay, so take 3 minutes, watch the video, then we'll come back and I'll let you guys know where our next steps are. All right, so go ahead and get started on that, you guys. Perfect. I'll give you guys a few more minutes just to get those green check marks, because this does help you guys with the terminology around the electoral system. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody has watched that video because it will help you guys in what we're going to be doing in the next couple of minutes here. So just remember to give me those green check marks, you guys, once you are done watching the video. So Kaylin, Eric, good. Jonah, if you're done. Okay. Costin, I know you need a few more minutes. Perfect. All right. But once you are done, here is what you are going to do. Okay. In part 2 of this, in acquiring the knowledge, you guys, you'll see it says click here. What we're going to do is we're going to look at not this recent election, not the 2017 election. We're going to look at the 2013 election. Okay, so which was 4 years ago because elections are held every 4 years. So I want you to download the results. Okay, it's going to give you another PDF form for the 2013 results. Now, what you'll see in this, and maybe I'll bring it up as well, just to show you guys how you can kind of read this. Okay. Just let me head into my course here, you guys. So if you open up elections in BC and go down to acquiring, and this is what you guys want right here. So you'll see there's kind of 2 charts, right? You'll see there's on the top part here, this is the general election results. So this is actually the provincial election results from 2013. On the bottom is the student vote results. So what Election BC actually does is pre-election, they have schools across all of BC actually do a mock vote, okay? And then, so we're looking at, and they're trying to target students who are not of voting age yet, okay? So this usually happens in middle schools to high school age, okay? So we're usually talking around that 13 to 17-year-old mark, okay, when they're talking about the student vote. So if you take a look at that, okay, so the bottom half is the student vote results. It's broken down by the different political parties, okay? And then you will see the candidates elected, the valid votes, and then the popular vote, okay? So now, with that being said, I need you guys to be looking at this when we head to, or when we start discussing with your partner. So with your partner, okay, same partners, have that document in front of you. And what I want you to do is discuss the following questions. Okay, which party formed government in 2013? Okay, which party formed government in 2013? How did the student vote results compare to the general election results? Okay, were they similar? Were they different? And why do you think the results are different? Okay, so take a look at those 3 questions. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to really delve into that. Okay, so 5 minutes, discuss those 3 questions. Go ahead. All right, so let's discuss this really quickly, okay? So in the room chat, you guys, who won the election in 2013? Which party? Just type it into the room chat. In the general election. Good, yes. So Kyla, you are correct. Christy Clark won, and she was the leader for the Liberal Party. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, did the student vote reflect the general election? Were the results the same? Good. More went NDP, right? The New Democratic Party. Yeah, absolutely leads. Yes. So in the student vote, the NDP won, right? Excellent. So now, why do you think, you guys came up with some really good reasons. Why do you think it was different? Because it's not, teachers just didn't say, who would you guys vote for? There's lessons around all of this, right? They weren't going in without the knowledge. They were going in with knowledge around the candidates, around the parties, okay? They really did try to set it up like a vote. So why did it end up differently? What are some reasons why it would have ended up differently? Why the student vote was different than the actual vote? You guys already came up with some really good reasons when you guys were discussing it with your partners. So let's just put some of those reasons into the room chat. No, this was just all a provincial-wide kind of just, no, Kyla. These didn't count towards anything, right? It was just a mock election. Yeah, so leads, great. Great, absolutely. Different priorities, right? So what would have been the different priorities, do you think? Let's go a little bit deeper with that, okay? That's okay, Costin, that's why we're here. That's why it's important that you're learning this stuff. So that when you do get the chance to vote, you will be informed. Good, excellent leads, absolutely. They could have cared more about the education platform, right? Because that's where their headspace is at, because they're already part of that educational system, right? Maybe even heading into post-secondary education, right? And that's where their concern is. So maybe they believed the NDP had a better platform, had a better promise to the people than the Liberals did, right? Good, excellent. Anything else? Why those results would have been different? No? Crickets? I think leads, that is probably the number one reason too, right? But it can also be too, you guys, it's not just, remember too, when we look at elections, there's the people who represent a party, right? So Christy Clark represents the Liberals, right? Andrew Weaver in this last election represented the Greens, right? So on and so forth. John Horgan was for the NDP. They were the leaders. They would be who would be becoming premier of the province. But then in every riding, there was somebody else being elected as your local representative, right? What if, this is always where I debate, right? With our system, with our first past the post system, is because this is what I struggle with. I may really like a local representative from the party, but what if I don't like the leader of the party? right? That becomes an issue, because here locally, I might think that this person might do a fantastic job in representing us as Kelowna, as the Okanagan, and pushing for our issues that we're worried about here in the Okanagan. But what if I don't like the leader who's actually going to become the premier? Because our local representative isn't the premier. They don't have the final say on what happens. The premier does, right? So it's a real issue with our first past the post system. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. But yeah, so that's another thing to remember as well, you guys. And it can be opposite. Like maybe you like the leader of the party, but you don't like the local representative, right? That sort of thing. So politics can get a little tricky. All right. Now, that was 2013. Okay? That was 2013. That was 4 years ago. Our 2017 election just happened. Okay? Who won our 2017 election? Which party? Good. Same party won. Liberals, Christy Clark is our premier. But there was a difference this time. Okay? In 2013, the Liberals formed a majority government. They had the 44 seats that they needed, right, to form that majority government. It's different this time around. The Liberals are forming a minority government, and they mentioned this in the video that you guys watched, right? So I want to get into a little bit around that because it's super different, okay, between the majority government and the minority government. How the Liberals are going to run this province for the next 4 years is going to be very, very different than how they ran it in the past, okay? Because they don't have a majority of seats. They're going to need help. If they want to get laws passed or bills passed, they're going to need the help from either the NDP or the Greens, okay? So, again, a tricky little twist on politics. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to take some time. I uploaded an article for you guys to read, okay? So you'll see in Acquiring Knowledge, you'll see a click here for the article. Take some time to read that, okay? And what happens is because it'll give you the background knowledge around the minority government. Then I'm gonna get you guys to discuss the following questions with your partner, okay? What does it mean to hold a minority government, okay? And what are the implications for each of the political parties now in BC, now that we have a minority government, okay? So I wanna give you guys 15 minutes because it's gonna take you a bit to read the article. Might take you a bit maybe to Google what a minority government is if you don't already have a clear understanding. And then I really want you to discuss what that means with a partner, same partner that you're already talking to. Okay, so take 15 minutes, read the article, discuss with your partner, and then we'll come back. Okay, go ahead and get started. All right. I am assuming from the chat, because it's kind of quieted down, that you guys are done. And we've kind of figured out, and from what I've read from your guys' chat, I've kind of figured out that you guys have a pretty good stronghold on what a minority government is and what the implications are for those political parties in BC. So just really quickly, in your own words, could somebody or multiple people, if you guys could type into the main room, what is that minority government? What does that mean? What you guys were talking about in your chats were correct. So feel free to put that into the room chat. Leads, absolutely. That is the implications, right, of a minority government. Yeah, absolutely. Because they don't have the majority of seats in Parliament. And yes, Jonah, that is correct. Here in BC, the Liberals have formed a minority government, which means they cannot pass anything legally in the House, right? Whether it's a law or a bill or whatever, they are one seat off. That's right. So they have to get the support from the other parties, okay? Which means it may not be a bad thing for our province, right? It may mean that the parties have to work together to create policy that's gonna get through the House, right? Versus when one party holds a majority, they can get it passed through, usually without a problem, right? Exactly. There's going to be a little bit of collaboration there, right? What's interesting though is that the Liberals is that with the Green Party. That's really what's interesting in this last election, you guys, because the Green Party now has, I believe it's 3 seats in the House, and that's the most seats that they've ever had in their lifetime in the creation of the Green Party. They've never had that many seats in Parliament. And they are the ones that are really holding a lot of power right now in the legislature, because they can either go align themselves with the Liberals, right, and get stuff passed and work with them. But then what happens to the supporters of the Greens who really don't like the Liberals, right? And so when the next election comes around, are they going to remember that they supported the Liberals and not vote for the Greens anymore? And will they lose seats in the House, right? So the Green Party actually has a real, it'll be very, very interesting over the next 4 years, what happens, okay? So I'm hoping that as the next 4 years continues on, because by the time you guys get to voting age, these parties will still be in power, right? So I want you guys to start noticing now what is going on, because by the time you guys get to voting age, right, this is going to be important for you guys, okay? So now what we're going to do is apply the knowledge. So we got to go back to our ridings that you're from. So first of all, you need to decide, were you West Kelowna, were you Kelowna Mission, were you Lake Country Kelowna, all those different ridings, right, that we looked at. And then find your candidates that were running in your riding. So really quickly, I'll show you guys using myself as an example, okay, how I'm going to do this. So if you head back, and I'm just going to close this off, and if you scroll down, and if you click here, what this is going to take you to is one of the elections BC, Okay. And here you go. Here is your list, but you have to choose your district. So I believe I was Kelowna Lake Country. Let me see. No, I wasn't Kelowna Lake Country because I know who my candidates were, you guys. So I just got to find Kelowna Mission. That was me. Okay, so if you find your riding, then what's going to pop up is your candidates, okay? So you can see in my riding, okay, these are the people who would have been on my ballot that I was voting for. So you can see the party that they belong to, right? And then you can see the actual candidates' names, okay? So that's what you're gonna do first. You're gonna find your people, all right? Then what you're gonna do, just let me head back to my PowerPoint. Okay, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna assign you to a breakout room, okay? And each breakout room is going to do some research on the local candidate / party, okay? Because some of you may have different local candidates if you're from a different riding, but they're going to be from the same party, right? So they should be following that same philosophy, okay? And using the candidate and party websites, so you guys can go look up their websites, online resources, campaign literature, okay? I want you guys to conduct as a group a little bit of research and answer these questions. Who were your local candidates? So you might have more than one for each party, right? Because if you guys were from different ridings. And are they affiliated with a political party? What does the political party stand for? Who's the current leader of the party, if applicable, because some people run on an independent basis, okay? What are the parties or candidates' logos, slogans, posters, advertisements? What are their key messages? What are they trying to get out there? What was their platform? Okay. What are the parties or candidates' main priorities or policy ideas? Okay. What is the vision for BC? How do they want to lead BC? Where does the party or candidate sit on the political spectrum? Okay. And we talked about that in the past. All right. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead here, you guys. Okay. So that is where you're going to do, okay? So you need to come together as a group, do a little bit of research, okay, around your local candidates, around the parties, okay? Using these questions to guide you, all right? And then we're gonna come back and then I'm gonna tell you guys what you're gonna do with that, all right? So I think I'm going to give you guys, say, about 30 minutes in your breakout rooms, okay? And I'm going to create maybe about, how many students do we have here today? About 12. So I think I'm going to do about 3 per group. So I'm going to create about 4 breakout rooms, you guys, okay? And I'm just going to randomly put you guys into some breakout rooms. Use these points for discussion. I will also give you the whiteboard privilege as well, okay? Just to if you guys want to jot stuff down on the whiteboard, okay? And then you guys can get going. Use these questions to help guide you, all right? So give me a second and I will get breakout rooms done. I think I'm going to do 4. There we go. All right, so you guys should be in breakout rooms now. Perfect. And I'm just going to remove my other self here because I don't need to be there, which means, yeah, that should be good. Okay, that looks good. All right, so you are in breakout rooms now. Okay. So that is what you are doing. And I think I saw before I went into breakout rooms. Oh, Jenna, you're going to have to find that website. Okay. If you want to just look up Elections BC, and remember, I've got a link to it, right? If this is what you were talking about, this is there's a link right here under Applying the Knowledge. I've linked that website for you guys. Okay, right there. All right, if that's the one that you were looking for. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now, you guys, is I am going to give you guys, like I said, 30 minutes, and then we'll reconvene. Okay, I am going to say goodbye on the live classroom, and I'm going to head back to my office. Okay, and then I'll come back in, and I'm going to spend some time in each of your guys' rooms just to make sure that you're on the right track, okay, of where you guys are going with your research and stuff. All right, so we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. Go ahead and get started.